Well, I decided to have a holiday in Ljubljana in September 2023. Ljubljana is the capital of Slovenia, a small country to the northeast of Trieste at the far northern end of the Adriatic. Slovenia became independent from Yugoslavia in the early 1990s. It has borders with Italy, Austria, Hungary and Croatia, and a coastline of only 29 miles, 47 kilometres. I stayed in a small apartment behind this mysterious door in the old town at the foot of the hill on which Ljubljana Castle stands. Head down the cobbled street in the direction of the Ljubljanka River and you come to the Hercules Fountain. The statue is a copy of a 17th century statue which is now in the town hall. Here's the same place after dark. I crossed the river at the Cobbler's Bridge, built between 1931 and 1932. I was standing on it, so I didn't get a photo, but here's a photo somebody else took. The architect was Jože Plečnik, who designed a great deal in Ljubljana. The airport is named after him. This bridge replaces a 19th century cast iron bridge which was moved to another site on the river. Before that, in medieval times, there was a covered wooden bridge which supported a number of cobblers' workshops, hence the name. Wandering on a bit, I came to Vigova Street, or the Avenue of Slovenian Composers. This is the building of the Glasbena Matica Music Society, renovated by Jože Plečnik in 1932. He also replanned the street and, in the early 1950s, the facade was remodelled to his designs. A bit more wandering to the northwest and I come upon this, which is on the southern edge of Republic Square. The tower on the left is the TR3 skyscraper, which stands for Trig Republic 3, and the one on the right is the NLB Tower, or Nova Ljubljanska Banka Tower. These were finished in 1976 and are part of a complex designed by architect Edvard Ravnikar that includes the Kankar Hall, or Kankajev Dom, the largest convention and conference centre in Slovenia. If you're around in October 2023, you can go and watch the music group Laibach perform their symphonic work Alamut in the Kankar Hall. Laibach is the German name for Ljubljana, and they have no doubt performed there many times. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, the opening shots in the video for Geburt einer Nation were shot there. Anyway, a bit of a tangent. Looks like I walked west from there and ended up on Prešernova Cesta, opposite the presidential palace. It was built to a design by the architect Emil von Forster between 1886 and 1899. It has been renovated twice since then. The main entrance is flanked by allegorical statues of power and law. Heading slightly north, I ended up on the corner of the Council of Europe Park, just in front of Kanker Hall's Grand Reception Hall. It contains this statue of Boris Kidrick. Boris was a key figure in the Slovene partisans who resisted occupation by Nazi Germany and Fascist Italy during World War II. He went on to be a leading Slovenian politician in communist Yugoslavia after the war. In one corner of the park can be found this chunk of masonry. According to the sign, this was part of the wall of a Roman tower which used to stand on the western wall of Emona, the town the Romans built and which was inhabited from the 1st to the 6th century. Toddling along, I found my way to the other side of those two tower blocks and onto Republic Square. On the western side are a couple of sculptures. This is the monument to Edvard Kardelj by Drago Tresar. Edvard Kardelj was a member of the Liberation Front, the political wing of the Slovene partisans, during World War II, and was prominent in Yugoslavian politics after it ended. He died in 1979. The sculptor, Drago Tresar, was a Slovenian sculptor who was born in 1927. After graduating in 1951, he worked as a freelance artist and went on to teach sculpture at the Academy of Fine Arts. He died in 2023. Another one of his works stands a few metres away. This one is called Monument to the Revolution. This was the winning entry in a 1961 competition to provide a sculpture to celebrate Yugoslavia's socialist revolution, to be erected in Revolution Square, as it was then known, which had been completed in 1959. In the event, it was not completed until 1975. Over on the northern edge of Republic Square is the National Assembly building of Slovenia, where both the National Assembly, the lower house, and the National Council, the upper house, meet. It opened in 1959. If Jože Plečnik's design had been accepted, this building would have looked completely different, and there would have been a building with a 120-metre high conical roof here. Instead, Vinko Glantz's design was chosen, which is largely free of decoration, apart from the portico, which consists of 4 oak doors surrounded by representations of working people in bronze. These statues are the work of Zdenko Kalin and Karol Putri. There are some murals in the entrance hall which are worth a look, but the doors are only open to the public once a month, except August. If you head east, back towards the river, you come across Park Zvezda, Star Park in English, in Kongresny Trig, Congress Square. Congress Square is named after the Congress of Ljubljana, which was held in 1821 in an attempt to settle international differences between the 5 great powers in the wake of the Napoleonic Wars. The 5 great powers were Britain, France, Austria, who ruled over Slovenia at the time, Russia and Prussia. The park was laid out after the Congress ended. There have been 2 attempts to rename the square. In the communist period it was renamed Revolution Square and later renamed Liberation Square, but the old name stuck, and in 1990 it was officially changed back to Congress Square. The impressive building near the southeast corner is the University of Ljubljana Central Building. Between 1902 and 1918 this was the state mansion of Carniola. Carniola no longer exists, but was originally a state of the Holy Roman Empire, comprising most of the southern western half of Slovenia, with the exception of the far west. At 90 degrees to the University Central Building is the Slovenian Philharmonic, which has a long history dating back to the foundation of a musical association in 1701. It became the Philharmonic Society in 1794 and counted such members as Haydn, Beethoven, Brahms and Paganini. Franz Schubert applied for the job of music teacher, and Gustav Mahler was briefly a conductor. The building stands on the site of the Estate Theatre, which burned down in 1887. The architect was the Austrian Adolf Wagner, and a rear annex and redesigned facade were added in 1937 by Jože Plečnik, and it was thoroughly restored in 2001. Facing the Philharmonic, on the western side of the square, is the Ursuline Church of the Holy Trinity, which was built between 1718 and 1726 in the Baroque style. In the earthquake of 1895, the original bell tower was destroyed but was replaced in the early 1900s. Jose Plečnik worked on the entrance staircase in 1930. Down by the river again, and we can see the Franciscan Church of the Annunciation peeking through the trees. The pink colour, some might say red, is a signifier of the Franciscan order. It was built between 1646 and 1660, but the bell towers were added later, and the front facade was added between 1703 and 1706, and then redesigned in the 19th century. The statue of the Madonna and Child standing atop the facade is made of beaten copper and replaced an earlier wooden black Madonna in 1858. Back on the western bank of the river, you can find this statue. This is Ivan Hribar. For 14 years around the turn of the 19th century, he had been mayor of Ljubljana. In 1941, at the age of 90, he had been offered the job of mayor by the fascist Italian authorities. Rather than accept, he wrapped himself in the Yugoslavian flag and committed suicide by jumping into the river. A note was found which quoted a poem by Franz Prešeren. "Less fearful the long night of life's denial than living 'neath the sun in subjugation." Jumping back to the Franciscan Church of the Annunciation, you can see the rather unusual triple bridge that crosses the river in front of it. This is another design by Jose Plečnik, although the central bridge retains much of an earlier bridge completed in 1842. The two footbridges on either side of the central bridge were completed in 1932. Further west, not far from the edge of the Tivoli Park, you can find the National Gallery. The gallery was founded in 1918 and was originally housed in the Cracia Palace near the Triple Bridge, but moved here in 1925. The building was built in 1896 and designed by Czech architect František Skabrut, and was originally a cultural centre providing a base for various cultural associations. In the early 1990s, an extension was added, and in 2001 a glass gallery was built connecting the two wings of the building. Nearby is the Ljubljana Opera House, which is also home to the National Ballet. It was built between 1890 and 1892 and was originally the National Drama Theatre, becoming the National Opera in 1911. Like almost all the important buildings in Ljubljana, it seems to have undergone major restorations in the last 20 years, in this case in 2011. It's a great building, but I can't say the massive grey extension at the rear or the portico do it any favours. On a major shopping street, roughly midway between the National Gallery and the river, stands a building known only as Nebotichnik skyscraper. This was completed in 1933, and at the time it became the tallest building in Yugoslavia and the 9th tallest in Europe. Its height is 70.35 metres, so you would need to stack 6 1/4 of them in order to make an Empire State Building, and about 11 4/5 to make a Burj Khalifa. That's the building in Dubai that holds the record at the moment. There are shops on the bottom 2 floors and offices above. Between floors 6 and 9 are private residences, and the top 3 floors are given over to a cafe, bar and observation deck. I rather wish I'd gone up now, although TripAdvisor does suggest the waiting staff are rude and unhelpful. Just across the road is this clump of buildings. No idea what the architect was thinking. Not much info on this. Google Lens reckons they are office buildings, which seems like a safe bet. This is Hauptmann House in Prešeren Square. It was built in 1873 and managed to survive the earthquake of 1895 and was given a renovation in an Art Nouveau style in 1904. Facing it across the square is this statue of Franz Prešeren, who was once Slovenia's national poet. You may remember that his words were quoted in a note left by Ivan Hribar after he committed suicide by jumping into the Ljubljana River. Hribar announced a competition for designs for the monument in 1899 and it was unveiled in 1905 at a ceremony attended by some 20,000 people. If you're wondering, the woman waving a twig over his head is a muse. On the other side of the river you can see Plečnik's Market, a building which stretches along the riverside from the Triple Bridge to the Dragon Bridge. It was completed by 1942. Behind it, on the left, you can see the Cresia Palace, or building, which I think acted as the National Gallery for a while, and on the right, a tower of St. Nicholas's Cathedral. Looking back from a point further along the river, you can see the Butcher's Bridge, which joins Plečnik's Market to the opposite bank. Plečnik planned for a bridge in the late 1930s, but this bridge was not completed until 2010 and has a completely different design. It cost €2.9 million. The steel cables that form part of the balustrades are now adorned by so-called love padlocks. I first came across this practice on the Charles Bridge in Prague, but it has spread all over the world, and some cities, such as Paris, are now attempting to outlaw it. And so to the Dragon Bridge. It's a reinforced concrete road bridge completed in 1901 as part of the urban renovation plan of Mayor Ivan Hribar. It has a pair of sheet copper dragons at either end of the bridge, as well as 16 smaller dragon statues. The flag of Ljubljana has a dragon standing on the tower of Ljubljana Castle. Depending on who you ask, the dragon either comes from the legend of Jason and the Argonauts or the legend of St. George. Jason is supposed to have founded Ljubljana and or paused at a large lake near the source of the Ljubljanica River in order to dismantle his ship, the Argo. A fearsome dragon lived nearby until Jason killed it. Alternatively, the dragon is the one that St. George killed. The citizens of a city, Cyrene in Libya, were intimidated into providing 2 sheep every day to feed the dragon, and when that was not enough, human sacrifices. When the king's daughter was chosen as the next victim, St. George slew the dragon with a lance, and the city's population all converted to Christianity when George gave away his reward to the poor. St. George is the patron saint of the castle chapel, and also England, Ethiopia, Georgia, Malta, Gozo, Aragon, Catalonia, and at one time Bosnia and Herzegovina. The dragon is said to represent the ancient ancestral beliefs that were defeated by Christianity, as represented by George. Anyway, where was I? Oh, if you go back to the Butcher's Bridge and cross it, and then cross the Central Market, you will find this statue. This is the Valentin Vodnik monument, which was made in Vienna by the sculptor Alois Gangl and unveiled in June 1889. Vodnik was a journalist, a priest and a poet, and was an advocate for the Illyrian provinces, which existed under French Napoleonic rule and included Ljubljana as the capital. Not far from the market is Ljubljana Cathedral, or St. Nicholas's Church to give it its proper title. Not a great photo. I think there's a better angle from the market. It was closed at the time, which is a shame because the Baroque interior is said to be quite spectacular. It was built between 1701 and 1706, although the dome was replaced in 1841. Damage was repaired following the 1895 earthquake, and further reconstruction was done in 1989. I think that's about it for now. Hope you like this video. Like, subscribe or whatever, and it's possible I may do more videos on my visit to Ljubljana, so look out for them if you're interested. Bye for now.